in the dying embers of human existence, as the asteroid, a behemoth the size of Texas, hurtles relentlessly toward Earth. The world braces for an apocalyptic end. Deep beneath the bunker, a refuge plunges into the bowels of the earth. Here the chosen gather, their purpose clear, to preserve the very soul of our civilization. The 35 and 70 millimeter prints that encapsulate the magic, the emotion, and the dreams of generations past. These masterpieces, each frame a testament to the human spirit, are carefully cataloged and cradled in the cavernous confines of the bunker. Perhaps there was room for more, for friends and family yearning for salvation, but sacrifices must be made. The movie nerds stand united, the keepers of a flame, promising a future where the art of storytelling endures, transcending the boundaries of time and space. God help us all.
Welcome to Back to the Frame Rate, part of the Weston Media Podcast Network. Join us as we watch and discuss films on VOD and streaming platforms, deliberating on whether each one is worthy of salvation or destined for destruction in the face of the asteroid apocalypse. You can find more episodes of this podcast on backtotheframerate.com, where you can subscribe and share our show and find us on our socials at Back to the Frame Rate. I am Nathan Schur, and accompanying me are my extraordinary movie mavens, Brianna Butterworth and Sam Cole. Woo! Welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing well. We just saw each other, Sam. You were in my studio moments ago, it seems like.
That is very true. Moments ago in the long path of time, it was but a moment.
So we are here. I don't have a question this week because we are on I would call it like our summer schedule. I had to turn this episode around really fast because 2 days ago we recorded our Twister episode. Later that night, we went out and saw this movie that we're talking about today, Twisters. So this is quite an exhausting schedule. So
it's worth it.
I hope everyone out there really appreciates what we do for them. You know, we are laying it out on the line here for you, the people, the movie fanatics. That
it's a hard life to go see movies.
It is. You know,
you could refer to it as a whirlwind schedule.
I'm sorry, everyone. But we have to. But yeah, so we watched Twisters this past weekend in IMAX. Yeah, we could like feel those tornadoes like in our laps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I'm excited to talk about this movie with you. Before we do, I have a plot synopsis and a trailer for this movie. If I can find it here. Here's my plot synopsis. Haunted by the devastating encounter with a tornado, Kate Cooper gets lured back to the open plains by her friend Javi to test a groundbreaking new tracking system. She soon crosses paths with Tyler Owens, a charming but reckless social media superstar who thrives on posting his storm-chasing adventures. As storm season intensifies, Kate, Tyler, and their competing teams find themselves in a fight for their lives as multiple systems converge over central Oklahoma.
Dun, dun, dun.
And here is a little bit of the trailer for Twisters.
Guys, whatever's in there, it's big and it's moving fast. Drive. Go, go, go! Look out! Guys, you gotta get out of here. Do you hear me?
Twisters!
It's Tyler Owens. Calls himself a tornado wrangler. If you feel it, chase it!
Chase it!
I said if you feel it, chase it! All right, here we go. Oh, she's perfect!
She's gorgeous!
You thought you could destroy a tornado.
We never had a chance.
You want one? You don't face your fears. You ride them.
You ride them.
Amazing.
So there you have it. We are going to get a little bit of the movie facts. Perhaps. Sam, do you have some movie facts for us?
Indeed, I do.
I know he did not have a lot of time to prep. Nobody had time to prep for this episode because we just feels like we just got out of the theater.
We did just recently get out of the theater, but I do have some movie facts here.
Yeah.
Twisters is a 2024 American disaster film directed by Lee Isaac Chung from a screenplay by Mark L. Smith, based on a story by Joseph Kosinski, serving as a standalone sequel to Twister, the 1996 film. Sorry. The film, that's hilarious because it's a sequel. The film stars Daisy Edgar Jones, Glenn Powell, Anthony Ramos, Brendan Pereira, Maura Tierney, and Sasha Lane. And this was directed by Lee Isaac Chung, who I believe is from Arkansas, so is no stranger to the type of landscape present in the film. Screenplay by Mark L. Smith. Its cinematography was actually by Dan Mindel, who was the
he's a
DP
veteran in the industry.
Yeah. Comes to mind immediately J.J. Abrams, both The Force Awakens and The Rise of Skywalker.
Did a lot of Tony Scott films back in the day. Yeah, a lot. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, so it came out Cineworld Leicester Square July 8th, 2024 and July 19th, 2024 in the United States, and had a very successful above industry expectations opening weekend domestic 80 million. Budget was 155 to 200 million, and box office so far at present is 124 million, and that's worldwide in its first weekend. So it is doing well. I know this was shot in Oklahoma, I believe, introducing a new generation of storm chasers. It is not really connected to the first movie in characters. It's just its own like standalone film in the same Twisters universe 30 years later. But yeah, if anything to add to that or thoughts or
Not really. I mean, I just was looking at the overall cast here. We talked about, Lee Isaac Chung. It seems like an interesting choice. I know he did a movie that kind of put him on the map in 2020, Minari. I have not seen it, but after this, I kind of want to see it really soon. I
haven't seen it. I would like to see it. I haven't seen it. Yeah.
But this is the kind of
impressed.
movie. Yeah, it got great reviews. But Twisters, I think, is the kind of movie that can like set up your career. So it feels like a weird move, but I also think this might be the kind of movie that just now he makes movies like Twisters. Now he makes movie star vehicles.
He might, yeah.
What's interesting is the principal photography for budgetary reasons was actually supposed to start outside Atlanta, Georgia, but instead they commenced in May 2023 in Oklahoma, where the story takes place. Thank God they did that, because I don't think Atlanta, Georgia could do the backdrop of Oklahoma justice. There's space and fields, but there'd be a different feel to it. So that was a good move.
I want to also, you mentioned some of the cast that was in this. Daisy Edgar Jones, who I really was not familiar with before this. I have heard about Where the Crawdads Sing. I have heard nothing but horrible things about it. And it's one of those movies that my wife says, can we sit down and watch this movie some night? I'm like, no. So maybe I have not seen it, so I should not pass judgment.
I think that movie, to make it better, should have like an opening James Bond style song where it's like the James Bond visuals, like what's the name of it? Where the Crawdads Sing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just like where the crawdads sing. Then that would help the film.
Oscar nom.
And there's some interesting star power and character actors. I mean, of course, Glenn Powell, who is automatic A-list right now, but of course, Maura Tierney, who we just saw her. I totally forgot. We just saw her in Insomnia a couple months ago. She was in that, right. And of course, in the Iron Claw, saw her a couple months ago as well. Had a long career on ER for a while in news radio, but the cast that's in these tornado crews is fascinating. Of course, Anthony Ramos, famous for Hamilton, In the Heights, Dumb Money.
Yep.
We got some also great. We had, what's in this? The new Superman. I didn't even recognize him. I was going through the cast afterwards. You got David Corenswet playing Scott, who is Javi's business partner, unrecognizable. But you just look at that jawline and you know why he's cast as Superman. So it is really interesting casting.
Sasha Lane too. She's great. It was great to see her and all her drone action.
You've got Tunde Adam Impe, who is the lead singer of TV on the Radio in this as well, which is just fascinating casting. And Katie O'Brien, who is still my favorite movie of the year, Love Lies Bleeding. She plays Danny, who's the mechanic on Tyler's crew. And one other casting note, one of Katie's original crew members, Kiernan Shipka, who I can't wait for her career to really explode. She's all grown up. She is Sally Draper from Mad Men. And she was in a movie I really enjoyed, I think at the end of last year. It was a horror time travel movie. I'm blanking on it right now, but if you look up
Totally Killer? No.
Totally Killer. Yes, I really liked her in Totally Killer. Yeah. So
I'm going to see Longlegs this week. She's in Longlegs. Excited for that.
Yeah. So great cast all around, right up and down the whole lineup card for this movie. But yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Awesome.
Yeah. I don't have any other notes or trivia from this. It's too fresh to me. I haven't really had time to do that kind of deep dive into this. I watched a little bit of the behind the scenes making of this, but nothing too deep. But I guess we can kind of get into our thoughts on this.
Yeah.
Are we ready for that?
Yeah. One quick thing. Twisters was actually shot on 35 millimeter film, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
Huh.
All right.
After receiving support from Spielberg and Mindel with Panavision XL cameras and handheld RE435S and 235S. Interesting.
Great.
I don't know that it looks like it.
I don't know. I couldn't tell if it looks like it or if that's the resolution at the IMAX that we were at. I was mentioning it earlier, whereas the screen is like maybe though. I don't know.
All right. Well, did I say I am going first? I feel like
You are
already. All right.
Take us into it, Nathan.
All right. Here we go. So last week I sat in this chair. To the people that are listening to this, at least it was only a few days ago for us. But last week I sat in this chair and I listed off several of my issues with the 1996 film Twister. By the way, a film that I enjoy but don't love. And I talked about one, uncharismatic leading male in that movie, and too many side background characters, 3, paper thin character development, especially with the Paxton character and the antagonist, Jonas Miller. And 4, I didn't feel like the imminent danger with the tornadoes. It was inconsistent and also very unrealistic. And I'm here to say that Twisters fixes every one of those problems for me. This is one of the best action films for me that I've seen in a long time because, it hits so many quadrants. Number one, you like hot guys? Check. You like hot women? Check. You like action? Check. You like romance? Check. It reaches both the YouTube audience and the country music audience. Check. You like sharp.
It really reaches the country music audience.
You like sharp, funny dialogue spewed out by wildly outrageous character actors? Check. Plus, they brought in a more diverse cast that didn't seem forced. Setting, and they set it in America's heartland, including the lead singer of alternative rock band TV on the Radio. Check. Also, where Twister, I thought was both a dark and dour film in look and in tone. Twisters is bright and upbeat, and even with the harrowing deaths in the beginning, spoiler, we should mention that we are a spoiler podcast. This film is fun with a kinetic energy throughout. It is so perfectly assembled, and I'm certain it was produced by AI just analyzing algorithms for the entire country. Yes, I loved this movie. It not only lived up to the hype, it exceeded it. I think Glenn Powell is now a full-fledged A-lister. He nailed this role in this movie. The chemistry of the 3 leads, I think, is great. I was unfamiliar with Daisy Edgar Jones before this, but I thought she did a great job. Anthony Ramos as well in this. The three leads are all carrying this buried down trauma that I thought was portrayed very well as well. I like that the film uses our knowledge of the previous films, but in our expectation of it, but it uses it against us. You've got these rival storm chasers, the corporate funded group, and the wild hell-raising hippies, which is very much like the first film. So the iconography is similar in this film, and we begin to assign expectations to the characters. Like, this is going to be the Bill Paxton person, this is going to be the Helen Hunt person, this is going to be the Philip Seymour Hoffman person, and so on. These are the good guys. These are the obnoxious, douchey ones. But then the film does something completely different and turns everything on its head halfway, which I did not expect. I also went in with some concerns because the original Twister, story beats, I was worried it was going to start duplicating that. This maybe would try to be like a direct sequel where Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton's kids, we're going to follow them, and the Twister was going to try to seek revenge. We were going to be in like a Jaws, the revenge territory. Maybe the Twister was going to follow Kate up to New York and try to chase her down there. Something really stupid. I'm glad I did not do that. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But even though, I did have some problems with the last 15 minutes of this movie, and it didn't fully stick the landing at the very end. It gets a little ridiculous, but it did not hurt enough enough for me to not love this film, but it didn't. But anyways, that's all I have to say. But I think this is a perfect summer blockbuster. This is exactly what I wanted this summer. That's all I have to say. So I would give this a 4.5.
Wow.
That's my rating. So there you go. I've gushed enough.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I got to follow that, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I really liked this movie. I don't think I loved it as much as you love it, but I had a great time. As you all know, I have been eagerly anticipating this movie. The trailer got me hype, and I'm a recent convert to the original Twister film. I hadn't seen it until just a few months ago. I watched it. I fell in love with it. I had zero expectations of the movie, and it comes out as like one of my top movies. It's a 4.5 for me. Huge fan. I think it's magic, and it hits all the right beats. Twisters 2024 is a very competent movie. You are right. It's the perfect summer blockbuster. It doesn't do anything wrong. I also don't think it takes any chances. It has some interesting subversions of our expectations, but I think they almost do that so that they don't get criticized with being a copy and paste of the original 90s film. Yeah. Because otherwise it's very similar. The original Twister felt new. It felt like they were trying different things with the love triangle, with the practical effects, which of course, I sort of gushed over the practical effects in our last episode. I know there's also an assload of CGI in these movies, but they're blended a little more beautifully for me in the last film. And our CGI has come a long way since then. These Twisters look very good, but I just think in its aim to be so perfect, it really doesn't take any leaps. And I found the whole thing falling a little bit flat for me. There are two things that I'm pretty bored with in the movies at this point. One are gigantic CGI town crushing set pieces. In the original Twister, everyone that falls victim to a tornado, we know, we have an attachment to them. We have seen how many cities wiped out in the last 10 years and rebuilt and wiped out again and rebuilt and wiped out again. The final set piece just really didn't do it for me here. And then the other issue I have with this movie, and the thing that I'm just bored with in movies in general, we see it a lot in the horror genre right now. This is coming up a lot. Our internal trauma as the antagonist. This is the thing that our characters, they always have to fight their own trauma. And that is the catalyst for any plot direction or movement in the story. And that does just suck out some joy, and some passion for it. And granted, that definitely exists in the original Twister. Joe's family was literally ripped apart. by a tornado. But it just felt like the motivations were a little bit different or addressed a little bit earlier on, and definitely didn't play as much of a role for as many of the characters in Twister as it does now. So it fell a little flat. I thought it was really enjoyable. It is a perfect popcorn movie. I can sit there, have a great time. Glenn Powell looks amazing on screen. Daisy Edgar-Jones, they had incredible chemistry. It was way more diverse. The casting, I thought, was, even though there's great casting in Twister, I did think this was better, more robust, more well-rounded. And the characters really felt like they had a purpose. They didn't just feel like the actors who happened to give them a little bit more dimension. It felt like that was intentional and fleshed out in the script, which I really liked. It was funny. It could be really funny. It was a little too patriotic for me, but it did take place in Oklahoma, so it's hard to knock it down for that. You know, it wasn't steak and eggs. It was a rodeo. Okay. But yeah, I liked it. I don't want to sound too cool on it. I definitely had a really enjoyable time. It just felt like another action blockbuster for me. It's okay. I'll give it like a 3.5.
All right. Good take.
Is it? I don't know.
Yeah.
So I think you guys both have really good points, and it's interesting because one aspect that I agree with Nathan is I do feel that surprisingly the characters and their dialogue and the chemistry between the two of them was really, really, really good. I thought the human element was strong, and the human element and the characters and their interaction was, oddly enough, interestingly enough, the best part of this film. Whereas I felt the action and the twisters themselves and the set pieces, I definitely agree with B that it was more sort of standard CGI, fully competent, but I did not have a sense of. I will say there is an opening scene where a massive twister is hidden by the fog and the wind, and I thought that was suspenseful and well done. In general, I feel sort of like the set pieces in this film are solid, but they're more sort of perfunctory. I see, the thing for me is I love the 1996 Twister, and I actually really like Bill Paxton in it. I think he's like perfect for that movie. He just fits. Like, I'm a Bill Paxton fan. So I'll say that, yeah, so Lee Isaac Chung does a great job with characters and their chemistry. The human side of this film is surprisingly developed. When it comes to the action, he is more than competent, yet it is perfunctory and random, set pieces just arriving here and there, scattershot, seemingly on a whim. The first film, the original Twister, excuse me, opens with this terrific menacing music by Mark Mancista, and the Twister logo tumbles across the dark screen as the individual letters are blown about in a dark wind. This is the opening title of the first film. The new film opens more like a TV movie where the title Twisters just appears at an inopportune moment, appearing over a simple shot of our main character standing in a field. It has its moments and is perhaps worth a second viewing. Building up suspense and milking moments, for me, did not quite feel like this director's forte. I feel like he had a really good handle on the human elements, but I feel like the scale, I did not feel like... I have been to Oklahoma, and it is a huge place with vast open skies, and you feel like you're exposed to the sky. And I feel like that sense of the landscape in the first film in Jan de Bont, there's these wide shots of like we push in on Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton arguing in a truck, and a plane goes by, and it's this massive, wide, coordinated shot. There's this spectacular photography in the first film, and this like in the cinematography in the first movie I love. Whereas the second movie does a good job and the special effects look realistic. But it's funny, in this day and age, we now have access to all these like amazing drone shots. And I feel like the shots in the 1996 original are just somehow more awesome. I have a personal bias because that movie, when it came out, you bring a good point, B, about the special effects. We'd never seen anything like that in 1996. Like, I remember just being blown away. And this movie is good, but it comes out in a time where we've seen massive destruction on an epic scale over and over and over again. And what was missing in this film, in the first film, the tornadoes were like characters, like the shark in Jaws. It was like hinted that there's this godly, menacing presence in the sky. And in this movie, they were just weather. which they are, but a little bit of that epicness I felt was missing. But overall, I enjoyed it. I thought Glenn Powell was excellent. I mean, I liked everyone in the film, and I would give it a solid. Like it's not bad, it's not great. I put it right in the middle at 3 stars.
This is interesting because I was the biggest critic of the first film and the most skeptical heading in, and I ended up loving it the most, it sounds like.
I think this.
I hear that. I
think
love that first film. I have a real thing. That experience was amazing. I hear you though. Yeah.
I think this sort of comes down to how much of, at least for me, like I'm such a sucker for that Spielbergian kind of like
yes
sense of awe, sense of wonder, that like very childlike perspective and hopeful storytelling. It's a little soft. It's very like fairy tale-esque.
Yes, there's like wonder and terror, and that, you know, like Aunt Meg is very Spielbergian character.
Yeah.
It's got that. It has that energy. This movie was like I liked the diverse cast and the new characters. Like I liked the characters. I just felt that the scale of the movie around them felt a little like the movie. It felt a little shrunken, whereas I wanted to feel that grandiose feeling.
I agree. Some of that magic, that like touch Spielberg magic, is not. It's not in this. This is a much more like scientific. Like I said, I really feel like AI algorithms designed this movie to please the most amount of people possible. It has that.
I hear
feel.
that. Yeah, that's a good.
Totally.
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It worked for me, which is not typical. I don't usually.
And I will say, like, even though I totally agree, like, I found the last set piece very underwhelming, except for some like visual, like, cool moments. Well, but there were some in the middle, like there's when they're going through a field and it's the, what do you call it? The wind turbines. And one of them like flicks off and like hits. That was kind of cool. I like that
cool.
stuff. Yeah.
I liked seeing inside the tornado. That was somewhere we haven't been. I thought that was interesting.
It is not without good action. Like it's there. It's good. It's fine. I've just seen
it before.
Yeah, exactly. I just wasn't like wowed by it. And I did love the cast. And if that script and that cast was married with like just a more wowier scope for the action, or it's what it is like, what's funny is the scale of Twisters is huge. I mean, like the tornado like catches fire in like an oil refinery. Like it's insane. You know what I mean? But it's the way I feel like, to me, what it was is a lot of set pieces in this movie that throughout them as they're occurring, they're great, but I didn't feel the buildup of suspense. Like in the first film, there's a scene where like Philip Seymour Hoffman walks outside and then it cuts to some character dialogue in a bar and it cuts back to Philip Seymour Hoffman and the sky is green and dark. He's like going green and Bill Paxton is like greenage. And it's like, you feel like, oh, a tornado's coming. Whereas this film, the tornadoes were spectacular. The effects weren't bad, but the scenes would arrive more perfunctory, kind of like at the rodeo. It's like there's a simple blowing of wind and it just starts. But I didn't feel like it could have been more suspense. I feel like the suspense could have been more milked in this film.
I think two things that sort of get to what you're talking about, where my frustrations of the movie are. One, any sort of like Spielberg magic or magical realism, that feeling that happens in a movie of his, they just put into Daisy Edgar Jones and made her like a manic pixie nightmare. So I liked her character, but this whole like dandelion picking, I can tell when tornadoes are like, all right. And then the other thing is, I do think they sacrificed pace at the expense of scale. Even within the tornado attacks, like there was a lot of back and forth between how the main characters felt about tornadoes. Like, were they traumatized? Were they just scared because it's a scary thing? Were they excited about it? I felt like within one attack that would shift a lot. And then there was a lot of back and forth, like it would start very quickly and then they'd be safe. But then that same tornado, we'd be in the same thing and it would scale up again and then they would be saved again. And so it just felt like they sort of dragged on in this weird way. So I just thought the movie had some pacing issues.
See, I agree with what you're saying. And like, I have a feeling that if I see it a second time, now that I know what it is, I'll probably like enjoy it more. Like it's decent, but you have a good point where I've only seen this once, and I've seen Twister like 4,000 times in the theater, like on cable over the past 20 years. Like that movie is always on TV. So I've seen it like a billion times. But you talk about the pacing, how this movie, like I did feel like the pacing would just kind of stop and be sort of slow. Whereas Twister, I always felt the whole movie is like on the move. It's like they're on the road. The plot, as cheesy as it is, like the screwball romantic comedy, it all unfolds while they're driving. Like they're constantly on the move. Like Twister has forward motion to it. Whereas this is like, all right, we're going to have an action scene and now we're going to do this and we're going to do that and whatever, like it's a more leisurely pace. It felt like to me.
I think the action scenes were incredible in this. I think
Really?
I liked how the tornadoes and the people are interacting with this. That opening scene,
The opening scene was cool.
riveting. I mean,
it was. That was a great opening scene.
They're going into that tornado blind, and that's how I would expect it would be like going into a tornado where they can't see where they're going. Things are hitting their car, causing real damage. And there are stakes to this. There's consequences to their hubris. And I love how this goes out. It fixes the problem where everybody comes out alive, unscathed, not a scratch on them. And still, I think Daisy got out of this relatively unscathed with just a scratch on her leg in the end. But still, there are major consequences to what happened. She loses 3 members of her crew. And I love how this opens up. I wish the whole movie, I want a version of Twister where more people are dying. And I do like the fact that there are civilian casualties in this. We see it. We see, even though we don't know these people, we are seeing, like the hotel manager or some of these other patrons come through. I love the fact that this movie takes the liberty of showing what happens to these stupid people that get in their car, thinking they can outrun the tornado. No, get down flat. Doesn't mean you're going to survive, but it increases your chances, and it shows what happens when you don't listen to like the smarter people, the
experts.
Room. Yeah.
The pool scene I thought was really good. Those more intimate scenes I thought were so great. The car, the opening, but what you're talking about with civilians, that pool scene, if it could have just been that the whole time, I think I would have liked it more.
Several of those scenes, the pool scene, the opening scene. I mean,
wait, what was the pool scene again? I'm missing the context.
The hotel where they go down into the empty pool.
By the way,
kid.
The hotel, the person that is like complaining in the hotel is Bill Paxton's son.
No.
Oh, no way. That's awesome.
That's really fun.
Yes. By the way, so
cool.
They're going into the pool. What pool has all these exposed pipes? I was trying to figure out. I don't know, a single in-ground pool that's got all these pipes just lying around.
God, that would be dangerous, wouldn't it?
I will say that opening set piece really was great. Nathan, I agree with that. I wish like you were just saying, I wish the rest of the movie maintained that like level of intensity kind of, because that was really, really like the perspective of that. And then as they like get the data, they find out that like the column is like 70,000 feet. And once you hear the data feedback, you just realize, even though you can't see it, that there's like a monster behind it.
Like, how does that, how's it even possible? I was trying to
fuck.
That is.
This movie is big though. So, all right, few things to talk about that are outside of our review.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the trucks in the?
Yeah.
What do we think?
By the way,
intense, like crazy, like
I own a Jeep Wrangler, and all I want to do is just go off roading. I don't listen to country music. I don't like country music, but damn, I just want to take all the windows out, take the doors off, and I'm going to I have a GoPro. I kind of want to put it in my window and just like put on some sunglasses, just go off-roading and start a YouTube channel. Like, I don't know what I'm chasing at. But I'm going to stop and get a T-bone and drink Coors Light.
You'd call us 5 weeks later in a Kenny Chesney t-shirt.
I might.
Way to go.
Back to the frame rate.
That would be a good YouTube channel. I want to see that.
Like, just driving across the country just scoping out drive-in theaters and hope maybe a tornado will come through.
You both know that I live in a car culture household. I also have a Jeep Wrangler, but mine's from the 90s, much like the better Twister movie. What? But
So I'm just putting like hillbilly music as you're talking about trucks.
It's working.
Yeehaw. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Continue, my bad. Yeah.
But one thing this movie gets really right is what I affectionately refer to as redneck tech, where they just put the biggest, loudest, fastest things on the lightest frame they can and just see how fast and how far they can go. I mean, rockets off the sides of this truck. What? The bolts that will just screw him into the ground? I mean, but that was really fun. Like, that was really fun.
That was awesome because that had energy and innovation. Like when
character.
Yes. When their team shows up, they add like a sugar jolt to the movie. And like, I did like how they referenced the original Twister when he like pulls out in front of them in traffic, because they did that in the previous movie, and that had a good chaos energy
point
to
about
it.
those drills, those like he's auguring into the earth when a tornado passes over. It is the dumbest thing ever, because you're driving a tornado.
Stupid.
Hopefully you don't go into some loose soil because you're dead. How does he know? He's just stopping right there, like drilling in. What if he hits like a giant rock? You're not going to survive,
How does he even get close enough to get to the tornado without being sucked up?
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly, it's one of the, it's cool, but it's also one of the dumbest things ever.
It's one of the dumbest things. And it really serves for the final 10 minutes of the film.
Yeah,
I will say that him like putting fireworks into the tornado was incredibly crowd pleasing. Like that was truly hilarious. That was awesome because that was like a yeehaw moment.
Could you guys hear the woman next to me who just kept going, who was so anxious through that home? She was feeling tension in that movie. So clearly it did get across to some folks, but she was, oh my God.
I didn't hear that. There's something else I want to mention because I don't know. I'm not a woman, but there is, I think, an offensive use of mansplaining in this movie that I thought was hysterical.
Oh, you mean when he goes in and finds her homework and is like, you could have just fixed it like this.
Well, the first one is when the Anthony Ramos character and Kate are in the cafe, and he's explaining how a tornado works. Number one, like, this is our tornado. He takes a glass of water. This is the tornado. All right. I think she knows. And this is how you triangulate something. And he takes the maple syrup or barbecue packets. She's like, oh, I get it. Like, it's obviously for the audience, but it was like the dumbest explanation ever.
I'm telling you, she's a manic pixie nightmare. She's like a perfect PhD scientist who has enough trauma to need more people in her life, but she also likes to chase tornadoes. And by the way, she can like cook and grow up on a farm. Like,
there's like 3 scenes where someone explains to her how tornadoes work. And it's like, this woman's like a genius. She knows everything, like a lot about weather, and people are explaining tornadoes to her and like how some basic science works. But, by the way, I'm gonna jump ahead. This movie has a lot of techno jargon babble in it, which I dug it too. What I really did like though is that, never did I feel like I was playing catch up with any of it. It was just the right amount to keep, the audience briefed to what's going on, make the character sound smart, but also the audience's eyes, not glazing over either. So I thought it was really, really good screenwriting, the way that was performed. So I liked it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you.
I want to stress too, like, even though I wasn't like wowed by a lot of the action, it certainly was not bad. Like, there's nothing bad in this movie. There are just things that I've seen before and like done with more like spectacle, but like I did enjoy it.
Yeah. So
inoffensive. Yeah.
So I think we got to talk about the finale, the end scene, because as much as I did love this movie, I think we all are in agreement that this final sequence, the final tornado, which is like a 20-minute climax of this movie, it is not the best part of this film. It has a very conventional ending, and there's some really dumb things that happen in this.
It also felt to me like a good like middle of the film action set piece. Like even though the scale was big, like I feel like the final set piece could have just been something crazier where they find their car surrounded by like a circuit, like 6 F5s closing. You know what I mean? Like something more. I was not too worried about them not surviving in this. Like the last set piece, I did not feel the danger as much, although there's some clever visuals, but like that to me felt like standard CGI mayhem.
One thing that the predecessor of this is when you've got Anthony Ramos and Superman are out driving, I'm going to call him, and he kind of has a change of heart. We find out a little more than halfway through this movie that his group they don't have the best intentions. They are swooping in after these communities have been devastated by tornadoes, and they're working with some real estate mogul that's helping him buy this land. So what he does is his partner, I forget his name, but I'll call him Superman. He says, no, we have to retrieve the data from these radars. And Anthony Ramos says, no, I'm going to go back and help my friends in the town because the tornado's heading there. So I think this is funny. And we talked about this afterwards, is that, all right, you go set up the thing, and he lets him out of the car and he just ditches him. I think
Totally.
In the path of the tornado to die. And I thought that was like hysterical.
I just assumed they had the rest of the crew behind them, I guess was my assumption.
Does he have a way of communicating? I don't know, but there's a freaking F5 headed their way. Are they able to stay? Who knows if they even survived? But
that would have been funny if he had like a horrific death, like randomly. Like, this is such a brief non sequitur. Bear with me for 1 second, but I don't know if you remember in Jurassic World when the assistant who was like babysitting the kids, she is like plucked up by like a pterodactyl. Then she like falls and is dropped into the ocean. Then she's plucked up again. Then a giant like fish eats her. Like, it is a brutal death for no reason. And so tying it back in, it'd be funny if he left him on the side of the road and then just some like flying piece of debris smashed into him, but that did not happen in the film.
So in the meantime, back in the town, Glenn Powell and Kate are trying to like rescue people into buildings, and they send people in the theater. Glenn Powell gets trapped under some debris, and there's a water tower that's collapsing, about to fall on him, and is it Daisy, right? She's trying to like pry him out, and out of nowhere, like Anthony Ramos knew exactly where to go in town to find them.
Oh yeah.
And like, oh, this is so conventional. This is so tropey. Like, you're there just in time. Mm-hmm. I mean, yes.
I even think in the movie theater there was some like, was it a Universal horror movie that was on the screen?
Frankenstein.
It was Frankenstein.
Which I think is appropriate. I mean, the tornado is.
I thought that was really fun that there was this like big monster movie on the screen. So the
tornado is the monster. So,
exactly. So it's like, that's really kind of fun. But I just thought it was a super cheesy ending, to the point where the tornado ends up perfectly framed in the movie theater.
That was just like, that was overdone symbolism. I was like, yep, I get it. We're watching the movie of the movie. You know,
and the tornado's like coming through, and I'm trying to figure out, would this be cool if I was watching it in 3D or in a 4DX, or is this really way too on the nose?
Yeah, it wasn't, and then
America will eat it up.
And I like the movie theater, but for me, I still like the Shining in the drive-through in the first film, the Kubrick like playing in the background, and like Jack Nicholson like hacking the door as like the screen is ripped up in Twister. Like, I like that imagery more.
Totally on point, but not necessarily on the nose.
Yeah,
I do think the whole Javi using leverage to rescue Glenn Powell kind of a thing. I was just
it's a callback. It's a callback too.
I know.
It happened. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And I was like, I didn't really feel anything. I don't know. It didn't sing to me, but much like the original Twister, I did really like the scenes at the farm. I like the scenes at Daisy Edgar Jones's mom's house. I thought those. Yeah,
I like those scenes too. I thought those were good. And I want to say, Daisy Edgar Jones, I thought she was really good.
She did great.
And I was surprised, not surprised, but like in the trailers, the first trailers for the film, it was very sort of Glenn Powell centric, and she was in it, but you didn't have a sense of what she would be like. I was surprised by their chemistry, and I thought her performance was like excellent. So like character wise, the two of them love the characters. Like if this does really well and they do, and the two of them team up for another Twister adventure, like I'll be at the theater, you know.
What would the third one be called?
Twisterers.
I think Thristers or Threester, with a 3 for instead of the T. I don't know.
Or like a dumb like with a colon, like Twisters Dominion or something.
Yeah, I'd like if they went the Fast and Furious route and made no sense with all this subsequent naming of films.
Yeah,
Twisters in the house.
Mm-hmm.
That would not do well. Yeah.
What's really funny is, one of the bigger quotes from the trailer, you don't face your fears, you ride them. The context of that takes on a whole new meaning. I think when you see the movie, that takes place in the rodeo when they're looking at each other, and damn, you see this. And now I'm thinking like, this is like an invitation of sex right now is what that really means.
Yeah, it's still a horny movie. I like that they kept the horn from the original movie. That did work. I thought that was very good.
That was clearly what that was
I
about.
have to knock this down to a 3. I'm so sorry. The more we talk about it, the less I like it.
That's okay.
Yeah.
You just officially joined the Sam Club, because as you know, I will I
shop there.
Take off or add stars. Yeah, Sam's Club. Yeah. Hey, I didn't realize that, but now I did. Yeah. And I actually am a member of Sam's Club, and I can go in and enjoy their prices.
Do you get discount?
I do get discounts, so check them out. Go find your local Sam's Club.
Yeah. No. It's not a great. Fine.
Okay. I don't know. I don't have anything else really. I'm looking at my.
I definitely don't have anything else to say about this.
Okay. I'm glad I saw this. I'm glad that we.
I'm glad we saw it together.
Yeah, I'm glad we got to see this together. I had a fun time. I had a really fun time watching this.
Potential title for the third one: Twister's Epitaph. Whoa. Heavy shit going down in this movie.
Last thing I would just mention. I do think it was really smart not to include a strong message of climate change in this movie. It's like not even anywhere near this. People going to this movie don't care about climate change. They just want to be entertained. And I was interested to see if that was going to be a theme of this, but not a whiff of it. So I don't know if you guys had a thought on that.
I did. I thought, yeah. I mean, like, there wasn't really a need, like they addressed that. I think I read somewhere in an article, they didn't want it to be like a message film, like they're making a blockbuster. Yeah. And plus they don't need to talk about climate change because clearly there's a lot of dangerous tornadoes. So like the climate change speaks for itself.
It doesn't need to be in a movie. It's
exactly.
Look around. Yeah. Decide for yourself. We don't need a movie, especially a summer, action movie.
This isn't the day after tomorrow, which I enjoyed.
This movie was really pandering to the heartland in a way that would have not worked had they included that messaging.
Yes. So, all right.
It would not work if they included that messaging, and it would be very like condescending imagine if they had like a climate change explanation in the middle of the film. In the first Jurassic Park where there's that cartoon of how they discover the dinosaurs.
Oh my God.
That and they do a climate change and Glenn Powell's like, get this. So the Arctic's clears. And you're like, that would not help the film.
Kate learns about it for the first time.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Like, what? Wow.
Crazy. They didn't go over this in PhDs.
All right, let's take a quick break. Thank you for dialing into our transmission. If you agree or disagree with our opinions on Twisters, we would love to hear from you. Email us at backtotheframerate@gmail.com. You can also find us on our socials on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and YouTube. We would also love it if you could take just a moment and leave us a solid rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to our show. You can pause the episode right now and do it. We'll still be here, right? Yeah. But the best way you can help us is by sharing our episodes. If you love what you're hearing and know others that love movies, let them know about our podcast. We thank you all in advance. Okay, so we are coming back for a conclusion of our review and our verdict. And yeah, I'm going to go first. So, like I said before, I love this movie. I think this is the perfect summer blockbuster popcorn movie. But what's weird is that this is still not a perfect movie. Even though I gave it a 4.5, I would not say this is like amazing. It's got a lot of flaws. But if I forgot to mention this at the top of the show, we're going to do our top 5 disaster films. I don't even know if this would make my top 5. Even it might be recency bias, that I might. It's hard to say, but I think a lot of these other ones, I might not put it in there. But I had a damn good time with this movie, so I have a suspicion where this might be going with you two guys. So I'm gonna say I guess I want to say maybe it goes in. Can I do that?
No.
No.
We don't have a sound effect for maybe. The maybe sound effect is like.
Yes, I'll put it in there. I'll put it in because I do want to see it again. I really do. Okay.
I'll take it right back out. It was good. It was a good movie. It's fine. We're going to have other stuff to watch.
Yeah. Okay.
I enjoyed it. I liked it. I solidly enjoyed the movie, but I will take my chances and I will say no to putting it in the vault in the hopes of when the nuclear fallout subsides, maybe one day when I can venture forth safely outside again, I'll find a copy and be reunited with the film. So never say never, but I don't need it in the vault with me.
Sam, this is unprecedented.
It's an unprecedented summer.
Maybe you need this.
If you feel it,
That really is such a vibe.
No,
that really is such a vibe, though.
All right. Well, I think the decision has been made. It's gone.
I love that. I love how damning that sound effect is. It's like,
No.
get out of here.
All right. Twisters,
Oh, man.
not saved in our vault, but that's okay. It's okay. No, I understand. There's better movies.
And just because it doesn't save it, just because it didn't save it, doesn't mean that I hate it.
One tiny spark becomes a night of blazing suspense as the world's tallest building becomes the towering inferno. Steve McQueen, Paul Newman, William Holden, Faye Dunaway, Fred Astaire, Susan Blakely, Richard Chamberlain, Jennifer Jones, O.J. Simpson, Robert Vaughn, and Robert Wagner. Irwin Allen's production of The Towering Inferno. See it for Christmas at a theater near you. Rated PG.
We have something new this week. We are going to do our top 5 favorite disaster movies. And this is not just like the 90s. This could be from the entire history of movies. We're going to use the term disaster movies loosely. I specifically said not just natural disasters. So do with this what you may, this is, have fun with this.
Nice.
This will not be on your tombstone. All right. This list. So we did not figure out who's going to go first on this. So how should we do this? Do you want me to go?
Do the same order?
Stay the same order? Same order? All right. Flip the sheet here. Okay. So, by the way, do we need, what is a disaster movie to you guys? Any rules to this that you think that you
The only rule that I had in my head was there has to be significant destruction of some sort in the film.
Yeah. It's a good rule.
That is a good rule. I kind of interpreted it as natural disaster, but hearing this now, I'm like, oh yeah, I could definitely open that up because I wanted to go into a little bit more sci-fi or even animal,
Okay.
So we'll see what happens. We'll all learn my top 5.
All right. So I guess we'll still go from 5 to 1. My number 5. I went with Knowing, the 2009 Alex Proyas film starring Nick Cage, Rose Byrne. Nick Cage is a professor who discovers a time capsule from 1959 containing a mysterious list of numbers. And I think he realizes he can predict dates and death tolls and coordinates of major disasters over the past 50 years, including some that haven't happened yet. I know this movie has it's got some decent special effects. I've always enjoyed Alex Proyas as a director, even when he swings and misses. The ending of this movie is not great, but I still think it's worth the ride, I think. So yeah, Knowing from 2009 is my number 5.
Nice. That's a good choice.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Sam, do you like Knowing?
I do, but I haven't seen it in so long. I just remember there's an impressive and creepy plane crash in that movie across the highway. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do remember that. I would have to go back. I remember enjoying it, but it's been a while.
Yeah. Okay.
So I have one for my number 5, and I'm not sure if you could really classify it because this is a genre that can be a little tough for me, but I have a backup. So if you guys are like, kick this movie out of here, I hear you.
I have my finger on the purged button here. So
sure.
Okay.
I was in Spielberg frame of mind. War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
It's got a lightning storm.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
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 Why not?
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll take it.
I love this movie.
Were you
It's
around
got a
when
badass lightning storm.
Oh, you were here when we reviewed it. That was like last spring. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, we did. That was one of our early Spielberg retrospective films.
Oh, yeah.
We did
love this movie.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I don't know what you guys think of this movie, but now I want to find out.
You know what, though? I could tell you this. It was not voted into our vault.
Really?
No, we did that retrospectively, but yeah.
Zoinks.
Yep. Sam, what is your number 5?
Boy, this is tough. I've been oscillating, and like this list may be subject to change in the future, but I'd say my number 5 is Greenland, starring Gerard Butler and Morena Baccarin. And this movie is the antithesis of Don't Look Up. It is a gritty, brutally realistic, and terrifying and harrowing first-person almost family account of a family that is just like living their life, and they get a presidential alert on their cell phone that they need to like report to this location so that they can be transported to Greenland. And like literally a comet is coming and is broken off into pieces, and the government has sort of hidden how dangerous it'll be, but destruction starts happening in the distance. But this is not the film where like people outrun fireballs and there's cheesy, unrealistic effects. Everything that happens in this movie is grounded and terrifying and psychological, and the tapestry, the canvas is very up close and personal. Harrowing movie. Greenland.
I've never heard of this.
I think you would really like it because
I gotta check it out.
It does not fall into the blockbuster trap. It feels like a documentary of a couple and a family trying to get to an airport and just their grounded, terrifying adventure. And like, just I was mesmerized by this movie, so that would be on there.
I never checked this out because I saw Gerard Butler on the cover of it, and I figured this is just action schlock. So I don't see
definitely not. It is different. Yeah.
Okay. But
I thought the same thing. It was surprisingly good. Like,
but I agree with you. I've only heard amazing things about this, but that was my initial opinion about it when I saw this. But I am hearing the same thing you're saying, Sam, is that this is much better than that. And I was just seeing that there is a sequel coming out in a couple soon called Greenland Migration, also with Gerard Butler. So
really?
Yeah.
Oh, that is great news. I did not know that at all. That is the first I've heard of that. And like, I can see how they would continue the story. And that is spectacular. Oh.
Same director too.
Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. All right.
Day made.
All right. So we're moving on to our number 4s of our top 5 favorite disaster movies.
And I have it on good authority. Nathan's is Snakes on a Plane. Is that right? No.
I never thought about that, but
Let me guess. Your number 4 is of disaster movies, a different kind of disaster. The box office disaster of Caddyshack 2.
I did think about doing box office disasters for this.
Geely, woo!
So this one is one of the OG disaster films. It came out in 1972. It was directed by Christopher, I think, Nemi. The film laid out the blueprint for the huge ensemble cast that many other disaster films of the 70s would soon adopt. Typically a cast of actors way past their prime or ex-athletes, whomever they could get to show up. The movie is the Poseidon Adventure. It's actually one of the best of these from this era. Gene Hackman is the lead, and he's really great in this.
God, I'd watch Hackman in anything.
The whole cast is great. You got Ernest Borgnine, Red Buttons, Shelley Winters, who actually was nominated for Best Supporting Actress.
Leslie Nielsen,
Roddy McDowell. Basically, if they weren't on the set that day, they were probably taping an episode of Hollywood Squares. That's how I always look at it. There's so much suspense in this. Basically, all the passengers are trying to escape a capsized ocean liner hit by a rogue wave. Exactly what I want to think about as I get ready for my first cruise next week. So
I will say I love the Poseidon Adventure, and when the rogue wave appears and the suspense building up to that, I still find that absolutely terrifying.
Yeah. So Poseidon Adventure, my number 4. B.
All right. Well, we know I like my movies 2 ways: wet and schlocky. Big fans. Love Jason Takes Manhattan. Love Jason Takes Manhattan. Love Deep Blue Sea. No, my number 4, even wetter, even schlockier. We've gone all the way wet with Waterworld.
Oh, no way. Cool.
Yeah, all right.
I ride for the cause.
Awesome. That movie has a great soundtrack.
I saw this when I was a kid. It came out in 1995. I watched it with my dad. I just have good, fun, nostalgic memories of this movie. I'm not going to say it's the blueprint or the best of anything, but I really enjoy watching it and still do.
I have great nostalgia for summer 95. I was 14 and I had that movie was like epic. And that actually, because of that movie, I read a review of that film and they said, well, not quite as terrifying as the world of Road Warrior. And I was like, Road Warrior, what's that? So Waterworld led me to Mad Max that summer. Yeah. So 14-year-old summer. Love that summer.
That's a great summer.
So I regrettably did not have it. I did not see it in the theater. And I'm hoping that next year I think it's its 30th anniversary next year, that it will find its way into a big screen somewhere near me.
It would be so fun.
I would like to see it in the theater. Yeah.
It's just a really fun movie.
All right, Sam, what say you? Your number.
So my number 4, a film directed by Mimi Leader, starring Morgan Freeman and Tia Leone. I'm referring to Deep Impact.
I thought about this. This was like 6. This was the one where I was like, if you guys don't like War of the Worlds, it's Deep Impact. I
am a sucker for the tone of this movie. James Horner's score, may he rest in peace, is haunting and beautiful. And this was the summer of comet movies, the summer of 1998. This came out first, and then Armageddon came out later in the summer. Armageddon is the bigger hit, but scientists agree that this movie of the two is the more realistic. I love this movie. It's serious, it's scary, and I just find the way the script unfolds clever. So yeah, that would be my number 4, Deep Impact. It just the implications of like the world being destroyed on that scale is terrifying.
I just love the human drama element of this movie. You get to know these people. Judd Hirsch in this. There's so many sub stories in this. It really is well done. The effects are not that good in this though, but.
They have not. Some of them have not aged well, but some are good. And there's still a hilarious shot of a tsunami like overtaking New York. And there's this elderly gentleman reading a newspaper that is clueless. And this moment played as a joke, even on the screen back then. Everyone was like, he's oblivious that the wave is coming. So, but some cheesy special effects agree. Some still hold up, some not so great. But in general, love the movie.
It's a good movie.
All right. So we're up to me. My number 3. So my number 3 is The Impossible from 2012. This is directed by J.A. Bayona, and it's starring Naomi Watts, Ewan McGregor, and there are a couple, actually parents, who are vacationing in Thailand in December of 2004 when the infamous tsunami hit the coast, causing incomprehensible devastation to the country. This is a harrowing story and will exhaust you by the end. The two leads
I can't believe I haven't
excellent.
seen this. I got to see this.
Yeah,
I've definitely
it's great.
seen this. Yeah.
The scenes where the tsunami first hit are incredible. The effects still, I mean, this is a 12-year-old movie. It's still incredible. I know much of it is CGI, but it's clear that a lot of these actors spent hours, days in the water filming these scenes. And it looked like a rough shoot. Very good film. One of the better disaster films for sure. So yeah.
Wow.
The
I will
Impossible,
definitely check that out.
It is really good. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. That's my number 3. B, your number 3.
My number 3 is a little movie you might have heard of.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
It's just about 2 love-struck kids in Oklahoma, just chasing things they love. Mm-hmm. It's Twister.
Woo!
All right.
I can't say any more about it. I've said so much about Twister in the last 72 hours. But
All
big
right.
fan.
Big you are. All right. Sam, what is your number 3?
My number 3 is the wildly entertaining and hilariously ridiculous and over-the-top massive spectacle, Roland Emmerich's 2012. I unapologetically love this guilty pleasure epic film starring John Cusack. Hilarious over-the-top performance by Woody Harrelson as a guy who's just like lost it. But the scale of this movie is amazing. Basically, the like Earth's crust starts to shift, and the like tectonic plates lose their position because of solar flares. So like Los Angeles just sinks into the ocean. There's huge tsunamis. There is spectacle after spectacle in this movie that is just nuts and ridiculous. And I love it, including a giant ark that's like lost control of its engine, and in rising waters, they have to turn or they're going to crash right into the face of Mount Everest. Sublimely ridiculous.
I remember when this came out.
Yeah, I do love it. I do love it. So that'd be my number 3.
Good choice. It's not a good choice. It's a terrible choice, but I support you.
We still love you, Sam.
We do.
I'm aware of its quality level, but
man, I chose Waterworld.
Yeah, the entertainment is.
You got to go with what you love.
It's fine. All
if you feel it, chase it.
Well, you can make fun of me for this next one because you got 2012. You know, this one you may have heard of it too. It was a little movie, and I debated if this is a disaster film or not. But yeah, it is, because the last hour of this movie is about as intense as it gets, as the RMS Titanic slowly sinks into the Atlantic on April 15th, 1912. Say what you will about this movie. I know there are haters out there, but I think Titanic does so brilliantly.
It's a great movie.
What it does so brilliantly is that James Cameron lets us indulge in the world of living on the ship for 2 hours. We get to know the geography. And more importantly, we spend time with all these characters, not just the 2 leads, but all, the people that work on there, these various people.
I refuse to let the internet make us think liking Titanic is a hot take. It's a good movie.
It is an excellent film. But because we spend all this time, we are invested in the survival of these characters, down to the most minute character in this film. It is why Titanic is such a riveting film, and that last hour is still one of the best hours in cinema history, as that ship slowly goes down. And of course, the extremely climactic ending as the liner violently goes down at the end. So Titanic is my number 2.
It's a little bit of a wet movie.
A little bit.
Yeah.
It's a little bit.
It doesn't end there. Might get wetter.
Might get wetter. Yeah. My number 2, bigger, splashier, wetter movie. I love this movie.
Wait,
Another.
We don't have anything that's overlapping yet. This is crazy. I don't know.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
I think my number one might overlap with someone else's number
Okay.
one. But I love this next movie. It is another boating incident movie. It is, of course, A Perfect Storm.
Mhm.
I think that I love this movie. It's so good. The whole cast is great. As a New Englander, I just felt this one like in my bones.
Another great James Horner score.
Yeah. It's just great. It's a great character story. All the side actors are great. It's another great ensemble piece. You really feel the tension in this movie. I think it still looks good. I would watch this anytime. Throw it on.
I love the like autumnal feel of that movie. It's like
Totally.
October 1991, the Grand Banks, like, it's epic.
And it's based on real stuff,
And since we used to quote Mark Wahlberg in the show, I will quote a line from Perfect Storm. He's like, "Yeah, Ma, I know the Grand Banks are no joke in October."
Love it. Yeah. Great pick, B. Sam, what's your number 2?
Maybe I spoke too soon about overlap, but my number 2 is none other than the Poseidon Adventure. You discussed it already. I love that movie. And Leslie Nielsen in a serious role. This is before his comedy extravaganza. I find this movie, I saw it as a kid, and I just find it terrifying and riveting. And like, even though some of the visual effects are old and clearly sometimes you're looking at models, it is so well done and so involving. I love it. And there is a really not so great remake called Poseidon in 2006, directed by Wolfgang Peterson, starring Kurt Russell, who does a great job, but like very
that was a
CGI heavy.
remake.
Yeah, definitely a remake. Yeah,
Okay.
Wolfgang Peterson did Perfect Storm.
indeed he did.
Yeah. All right.
Perfect Storm, more like perfect movie.
Fog's just lifting. Throw off your bow line. Throw off your something else. You know what? You're a goddamn swords boat captain. Is there anything better in the world? Sorry.
So my number 1 pick is, I think, the most bro-y movie on my list.
Oh, maybe not.
And it has been mentioned already on here. I'm sticking with boats. And this one isn't quite as large as Titanic. It's been mentioned already. But it's the Andrea Gale, believed to have gone down in one of those violent weather occurrences in the Atlantic on October 1991. Perfect Storm, George Clooney, Mark Wahlberg, as Gloucester men.
Wait, Perfect Storm is your number 1?
Yes.
That's
I love
awesome.
it.
That's
Yes.
awesome. I love
Yes.
Perfect Storm. Yeah.
Yes.
And that these are men who get caught in a storm while returning home after a big haul of fish. I think the
Dudes
special
rock.
effects in this movie still did pretty good.
Yeah, they look good. It looks good.
I love this movie. I think George Clooney's fantastic in it, and it's rooted in that
good.
Massachusetts mystic.
Oh, I love the Massachusetts
quality.
like pathos, mythos to it. Like when it starts and like she has the nightmare, the Warner Brothers logo, and you like see them coming back to the docks. You're like, Gloucester.
Gloucester.
It's so funny. That was so close to that was my number 5. And then I thought of Greenland, but like, I may have a deeper love for Perfect Storm, but I do love Perfect Storm. I saw that in the theater and I liked it, but it grew on me over the years. Like
It grew on me as well. And I just want to also highlight just the awesome cast in this. They got other members. You got John C. Reilly, William Fichtner, who has made a career out of playing swarmy characters. John Hawkes in an early role. Yeah, Karen Allen and Diane Lane. This is
Michael Ironside.
Yeah, Ironside.
I was going to say Michael Ironside. No one in this movie isn't a little bit swashbuckling.
Yeah.
Again, it sings to my New England heart. If you got if you haven't read, I know she makes a cameo, but Linda Greenlaw is one of the fisherwomen who this is all based on, and she was there. And yeah, you should check it out. Her books are great. Yeah, I have a copy of The Hungry Ocean. It's awesome.
That's awesome. Like the end of that film is so emotional when Mary Elizabeth Mastriantonio is like delivering the speech. Then it pushes into the Gloucester sign, and James Horner gives you like the most New Englandy composed epicness.
I'm gonna watch this tonight.
Yeah, I might watch it too. Best line ever.
Hang up and watch this.
Watch party.
Best line ever. Michael Ironside. I actually quote this movie a lot by myself. Sometimes I'll be in my car by myself and I'll quote Michael Ironside. He'll be like, "I like you, Billy, but I like my boat better."
Love that. All right, B, you're number 1.
Well, my number 1, it's not a bro-y movie, but it does have who I would consider kind of a swashbuckling bro at its heart. It is, of course, Dante's Peak.
No way. That's
I
awesome.
don't know how this hasn't come up yet. This is what's flooring me a little bit, and I'm surprised. This is a classic movie. Another great cast. Linda Hamilton is in this. Of course, Pierce Brosnan is the heart of it. It's a great time. Yeah.
I love Dante's Peak.
I need to revisit this. Between this,
I will
and
shamelessly,
episode.
forgive me guys, but I will shamelessly plug Walks of World briefly. Visited Dante's Peak, the town of Wallace, Idaho. Walks of World, YouTube handle, Walks of World 1981. Check it out. Look for the Dante's Peak video.
It's a million times more powerful than the atomic bomb. You know, like, it's just good shit.
Is that your recipe for frog soup, Harry? No, that's my recipe for disaster.
All right.
Classic.
Sam, it's down to you. You're number one.
So by number one, the most spectacular disaster film ever, and it's just like the apex that I cannot deny, is my number one is indeed Titanic, number one.
Hey!
Yeah. I mean, you said it all perfectly, so I will not repeat it, Nathan, but last hour, Titanic sinking the characters, just the Cecil B. DeMille grandeur of that movie remains jaw-dropping to this day.
I wonder if I can find a way to make it sound like Babylon. I'm trying to attach every movie. It's kind of like Babylon. Good movie, kind of like Babylon.
Yeah.
Titanic rules. Has anyone seen the Celine Dion documentary on Prime? It's a really good doc.
I haven't.
No,
Nathan, I know you're trying to watch more docs this year. It's worth it.
I'm trying.
It's a good one.
I failed. I'm trying.
And the visual effects too, like when the ship is like sticking up in the air and like the electricity gets knocked out and you just see like all the lights go out and it's silhouetted against the stars and you like hear all these like muffled yells. It's just like that gave me the chills in the theater.
If we didn't have Titanic, we wouldn't have the Oops, I Did It Again music video.
Right.
That's important.
That is important. That is true. It's just the scale, culture. The grandeur. Like I just love, and I love that we get to spend time and the brilliance of that movie is that like this happens only the first time you see it, but you know that the iceberg is coming, but you don't know when. So you're like enjoying the characters and enjoying the drama, but like you're always like, oh, you sense you're like, is it coming? Is it not? Like, disaster is not far off. It's like looming out there. That's what gives that movie an epic terror.
Love Kate Winslet. I love her.
Yeah, she's amazing. I mean, James Horner. I'm a huge. You're talking about Titanic, Perfect Storm, both James Horner composed films, and like he's my second favorite composer alongside John Williams. Like I love James Horner. Like there's a melancholy, beautiful tone in a lot of his music. Score for Avatar,
little yearning.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I think this is really great list. It's funny, we don't have a lot of crossover. Perfect Storm was on two of our lists, and Titanic crossed over a little bit, but this was a very diverse list. So this is
Poseidon Adventure.
Poseidon is right. Poseidon Adventure, but not.
Can I ask if either of you? So I took it out of my list because I consider it a monster movie, not necessarily a disaster movie. But based on our loose definition here, did either of you consider Jaws?
I didn't because there's the monster movie and then there's disaster. So I did not, which would be the same thing like Alien.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Jaws
like I tend to think of like large of destruction. You know what I mean? Like mass, like scale, like waves, ships, that kind of thing. Like volcanoes. Yeah, like definitely Dante's Peak. I like Dante's Peak and The Perfect Storm a lot. I'm surprised they weren't on my top 5. It's just when a lot of those films would be in my top 10 for sure. When you got to narrow it down to 5, it's like I would want to watch Dante's Peak more than Greenland, but I think Greenland is a better film, and I have to acknowledge that, even though I have a stronger emotional attachment to Dante's Peak.
My other criteria is I didn't include like movies that had like deadly viruses, even though that could be a disaster movie. Yeah. I just decided, like, you know what? I wasn't going to go there.
I thought of that. Like I thought of World War Z or 28 Days Later.
Zombies.
But then I was like, those are kind of monster movies in a way.
I didn't do zombies or viruses or things like that. But you know what? I wasn't going to like tell you guys what to do. So, by the way, I wanted to do this. I wanted to break down the themes of our disaster movies. based on kind of like.
So wet list.
Now I have the wettest list of all. 4 out of my 5 movies are water based. Poseidon Adventure, The Impossible, Titanic, and Perfect Storm are all water based movies, except for Knowing, which is kind of like apocalyptic type, thing. B, you're the most diverse of all of us. You have an alien invasion, 2 water themed movies, 1 volcano movie, 1 tornado movie. Sam, also relatively diverse list, 2 asteroid comet themed movies, 2 water themed movies, and 1, I guess like Earth fighting back, like 2012 is I guess like, apocalyptic Earth movie. So yeah, also pretty diverse. I was the one that was really in the water. I was the wettest of all.
You were swimming.
And yours was very oceanic.
Yeah. Not intentional. I think maybe we just know how to tell ocean stories the best. Maybe. I don't know.
I love ocean stories. I love the
And we
ocean.
figured out CGI water pretty early on.
Yeah.
Still looks good.
But
CGI water definitely improved a lot better than CGI fire.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But I guarantee, I will say this now, in Avatar 3, since there's going to be a volcano in it, I guarantee you James Cameron will take CGI fire to the next level.
Do we know that? Is there a volcano in it?
Yeah, there's a volcano in it, and there's a culture of Na'vi called the Ash People, and they're antagonistic.
Oh my God, I can't wait. I love Avatar so much.
Me too. I love it. I totally love it, yeah.
Oh my God. Put that into my veins. So good. I bought the light up Avatar popcorn bowl, and it's been like a true joy in my life. It's really great. I'll bring it to our next gathering.
If you ever invent an Avatar drug, you should call it AWA.
Okay. I think it's time to wrap it up.
Let's wrap on disasters.
So we're going to be taking a couple weeks off and coming back on the 12th of August with our 80s summer comedies theme. We're going to have 3 weeks of 80s summer comedies, starting off with Ernest Goes to Camp. Looking forward to that. Yes. So me and B, we're taking vacations. So we are recording from the future past, I think, when this episode drops. Yeah.
Yep.
So we'll be back in a couple weeks.
We'll see you on the other side.
I may have to take a vacation as well. I need my vacation from my working vacation. I'm always trying to run away, so I might try to do something. I don't know.
Let us know where you end up, man.
I'll let you know if I go anywhere. We'll see.
All right. So this concludes our short 2-week mini retrospective of and Back to Frame Rate enters the suck zone, as we briefly call it.
That.
And we'll be back in 2 weeks for 80 Summers Comedies for the month of August. Everyone, you enjoy yourselves, and I should really do my real wrap up. That is our show this week. Back to the Frame Rate.
Back to the Frame Rate. It's from the West End Media Podcast. By the way,
that's the end of the episode.
I forgot what I was going to say. I had a point that I thought was important to make, and I really lost it, so I apologize.
What's the point that it's the end of the episode?
It was, but there was something about driving somewhere. Damn it, I lost it. I'm just gone.
Driving in the end.
Drop it off in our socials, Sam, when you think of it. All right.
Yeah, I'll try.
Back to the Frame Rate is part of the Weston Media Podcast Network. We also wish to thank Brian Ellsworth for our show opening. On behalf of all of us, we bid you farewell from the Fallout Shelter. Your presence in our underground sanctuary is truly appreciated. We are truly sorry you cannot join us, but we want to express our gratitude for your company. If you are finding solace in our discussions, we kindly ask that you please subscribe and leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whichever portal connects you to our broadcast. There you can find more episodes of this podcast and also on our website, backtotheframerate.com. And on Facebook, Instagram at Back to the Frame Rate. Your support is the beacon of light that brightens our confined space until we emerge from the fallout. Keep those reviews coming. Keep hope alive. Thank you. This is the end of our transmission. Back to the Frame Rate. Signing off.
Woo! Frame Rate. Back to.
I want you to know it's over.
Well,
Bye. Oh man, that was early.
If you feel it, Jason!